Bill Freehan, Detroit Tigers legend and 11-time All-Star, died in 2021 after a tragic battle with Alzheimer's disease. But the truth about his final years and what really caused his condition has been hidden from fans. His family strongly suspected that his dementia was directly linked to the countless concussions he suffered during his 15-year career as a catcher. Freehan was known for his fearless play behind the plate, but his story includes a controversial World Series moment, tough truths about his teammates, and a heartbreaking fight with brain disease that stemmed from his playing days. Bill Freehan wasn't just any catcher. He was the heart and soul of the Detroit Tigers during their golden era. Born in Detroit in 1941, he spent his entire professional career with his hometown team. At the University of Michigan, he set a Big Ten record with a .585 batting average in conference play that still stands today. The Detroit Tigers signed him for a massive $100,000 bonus in 1961. His father made sure the money was held until Bill finished his college degree in 1966. After a brief stint in the minors, Freehan became the Tigers' full-time catcher in 1964 and immediately proved he belonged. Freehan was widely considered the best catcher in the American League throughout the 1960s and early 1970s. He won 5 straight Gold Glove awards from 1965 to 1969. For years, he held the major league record for highest career fielding percentage at .9933. He also set records for career putouts and total chances that lasted until the late 1980s. His defensive skills were legendary. Teammates and opponents alike knew he could make pitchers better. He was the starting catcher for a record 324 games with pitcher Mickey Lolich, forming the most successful battery in Major League history until 2021. He caught 114 shutouts during his career. Freehan's .262 career batting average with 200 home runs and 758 RBIs might look modest today. However, he played during the second dead ball era when offense was at an all-time low. His batting average consistently ranked among the league leaders relative to his peers. In 1964, he batted .300 and finished 6th in the American League. The defining moment of Freehan's career came in Game 5 of the 1968 World Series. The Tigers were trailing the Saints, Louis Cardinals 3-1 in the series and 3-2 in the game. Cardinals speedster Lou Brock was on second base when Julian Javier hit a single to left field. Brock tried to score, but Tigers left fielder Willie Horton fired a perfect throw to home plate. In a decision that remains controversial today, Brock chose not to slide. Instead, he collided shoulder to shoulder with Freehan, who spun to make the tag. Umpire Doug Harvey called Brock out. This play is widely considered the most important defensive play in Tigers history. It prevented a crucial run and completely changed the momentum of the game and the entire series. The Tigers won Game 5 by a score of 5-3 and eventually won the World Series in 7 games. The image of Freehan blocking the plate became an iconic moment in Detroit sports history. The play showcased Freehan's football ability in blocking the plate, a skill that came from his high school football background. Freehan was more than just a great player. He was the team's leader and was famously called the thinking man's catcher by Sport magazine. He led by example like a sergeant rather than a lieutenant. His leadership was crucial in managing a pitching staff that included 30-game winner Denny McLain and World Series MVP Mickey Lolich. Speaking of McLain, Freehan made headlines off the field with his controversial 1970 book, Behind the Mask, an Inside Baseball Diary. This groundbreaking book offered a rare, candid look at the inner workings of a major league team. It was similar to Jim Bouton's Ball 4 and signaled a new era of transparency in sports. The book gained significant attention for its harsh criticism of teammate Denny McLain. Freehan openly criticized McLain for getting preferential treatment from management and accused him of selfishness and lack of discipline. He famously wrote, "The rules for Denny just don't seem to be the same as for the rest of us." This wasn't just personal drama. McLain was at the peak of his career, having won 31 games in 1968. But Freehan's criticism coincided with McLain's rapid downfall. In March 1970, McLain was investigated for operating a sports book and was suspended for half the season. His performance plummeted, and he was out of baseball by 1972, just 4 years after his record-setting season. As we remember Bill Freehand's lasting impact on baseball, it's important to take care of our own health off the field. If you love sports streaming and want the best live game experience, check out Fubo, the ultimate platform for live sports, with flexible plans made for fans like you. The physical demands of catching took a severe toll on Freehand's body. He was frequently dinged up by injuries throughout his career. In 1965, he suffered a severe muscle spasm in his lower back during spring training that sidelined him for 3 weeks. That same year, he sustained 2 separate injuries to his throwing hand from foul tips and pitches. The back injury proved to be a persistent problem that bothered him for years. It eventually required spinal surgery on September 2, 1970. He underwent the procedure specifically to prolong his career as an everyday catcher. He recalled days when his legs would be numb upon arriving at the ballpark due to chronic pain. In 1972, he fractured his right thumb while tagging out Boston's Carl Yastrzemski at the plate. This injury significantly affected his performance in the American League Championship Series, where the Oakland Athletics exploited his impaired thumb by stealing 7 bases against him. Despite all these injuries, Freehand's durability was extraordinary. He caught 1,581 games, the most in Tigers history, and played in 1,774 total games. He caught 155 regular season games in the championship 1968 season and all 7 World Series games that year. Freehand was an 11-time All-Star, which is the most selections for any player not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He finished as MVP runner-up in 1968 and had multiple other top 10 finishes. Baseball historian Bill James ranked him 12th all-time among Major League catchers. The most tragic part of Freehand's story came in his later years. He developed Alzheimer's disease, which prevented him from participating in public events, including the Tigers' 50th anniversary celebration of their 1968 championship in 2018. His family reported that he lost track of just how many concussions he had over the years. It was just too many concussions. Freehand lived under hospice care for years before passing away on August 19, 2021, at age 79. In his final years, the disease left him unable to walk, speak, or feed himself. His family strongly believed his Alzheimer's was related to the repeated head trauma he sustained as a catcher. This connection highlights a growing understanding of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, a degenerative brain disease found in athletes with histories of repetitive brain trauma. Catchers are particularly vulnerable due to frequent impacts from foul tips, collisions at the plate, and repeated jarring. Research shows that individuals with moderate to severe traumatic brain injuries are 2 to 5 times more likely to develop dementia later in life. Most people diagnosed with CTE have histories of hundreds or thousands of head impacts over many years in contact sports. Despite his incredible career achievements, Freehand's exclusion from the Baseball Hall of Fame remains controversial. He received only 0.5% of votes when he first became eligible in 1982 and fell off the ballot after just 1 year. No one has attempted to put him on the Veterans Committee ballot since then. Arguments for his induction center on his elite defensive skills and consistent performance during a pitcher-dominated era. He was an 11-time All-Star with 5 Gold Gloves who held multiple Major League records. His offensive numbers must be viewed in the context of the low-scoring environment he played in. Some argue his exclusion represents an inconsistency in the Hall of Fame selection process. The context of the deadball era significantly understated his offensive value. His quiet, consistent excellence may have lacked the glamour often associated with Hall of Fame narratives. After his playing career ended in 1976, Freehand remained connected to baseball in his community. He served as head baseball coach at the University of Michigan from 1990 to 1995. He was also deeply involved in charitable work with organizations including the Special Olympics and Catholic Charities. Bill Freehand's legacy extends far beyond statistics. He was a courageous leader who wasn't afraid to speak difficult truths, even when it meant challenging a superstar teammate. His iconic World Series moment showed his competitive fire and defensive excellence under pressure. Most importantly, his battle with Alzheimer's serves as a powerful reminder of the long-term health risks faced by athletes in contact sports. His story highlights the need for continued research into prevention and treatment of brain injuries in sports. And that's the story behind Bill Freehand's incredible life. a baseball legend who faced battles both on the diamond and off the field. If you learned something new today, hit that like button, subscribe for more untold sports stories, and drop your thoughts about Freehand's Hall of Fame snub in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bruce Sutter's career should have ended before it even started. A devastating elbow injury in 1972 left him unable to throw his fastball even 60 feet. But what happened next didn't just save his career. It changed baseball forever. In 1972, Bruce Sutter was just another young pitcher in the Chicago Cubs minor league system. Playing for the Gulf Coast League Cubs, he felt sharp pain in his right elbow. Doctors diagnosed it as a pinched nerve. The injury was so severe that he could only pitch 2 games in 5 innings before being sidelined for the entire year. The Cubs were ready to release him. His professional baseball dreams seemed over before they truly began. But Sutter refused to give up. He made an extraordinary decision. He paid for his own surgery to repair the pinched nerve, betting his future on one last chance. When Sutter returned to spring training in 1973, the surgery had worked, but there was a devastating side effect. His traditional fastball was gone. He couldn't even throw it 60 feet, 6 inches, the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate. For most pitchers, this would have been the end. But fate intervened in the form of Fred Martin, a Cubs minor league pitching instructor. Martin introduced Sutter to something called the split-finger fastball. This pitch required spreading the index and middle fingers wide apart, forming a V shape around the baseball. The ball was thrown with fastball arm action, but emphasized a downward pull at release. Sutter mastered it almost immediately. He later recalled, "The first day I threw it, I'd get it to break. Not every time, but you could see the signs that it was going to be something special. I never adjusted my grip after the first day." The pitch was revolutionary. It looked like a fastball coming out of his hand, deceiving batters into swinging early. But as it approached home plate, it would tumble and drop sharply, often described as falling off the table. This late movement made it nearly impossible to hit squarely. The split-finger fastball became Sutter's signature weapon. By 1976, he was in the major leagues. By 1977, he was the Cubs' closer. The pitch was so effective that it fundamentally changed how teams approached the 9th inning. Sutter's numbers were incredible. From 1977 to 1984, he consistently pitched over 100 innings in relief, a workload almost unheard of for modern closers. In 1979, he won the Cy Young Award, becoming one of the few relief pitchers ever to earn this honor. He led the National League in saves 5 times and became a 6-time All-Star. His peak seasons were extraordinary. In 1979, he appeared in 62 games, pitched over 101 innings, recorded 37 saves, and posted a 2.22 ERA. In 1982 with the Cardinals, he pitched 70 games with 36 saves and helped lead the team to a World Series championship. In 1984, his final dominant season, he set a then record with 45 saves while appearing in 71 games. But this success came with a cost. During his time with the Cubs, concerns about overwork were constant. His pitching instructor, Fred Martin, observed that Sutter's ball was still dropping, but not as sharply as before. Martin attributed this to overexertion, saying, "There's nothing wrong with him physically that a little rest wouldn't cure. We just need a few complete games from our starters." Sutter himself denied that overwork was affecting his performance, insisting his struggles were just late-season slumps. But the statistics tell a different story. He was often the Cubs' only dependable reliever, creating a situation where the team had no choice but to use him heavily. This created what experts now recognize as a dangerous cycle. The more indispensable Sutter became due to his elite performance, the more frequently the team deployed him. This increased his risk of injury and burnout, potentially undermining the variability that made him so valuable. In the late 1970s, understanding of pitcher workload and its long-term consequences was far less developed than today. Overwork was often just a qualitative observation, rather than a scientific measurement based on biomechanical stress. Teams lacked the sophisticated load management protocols that exist in modern baseball. The contradiction between Fred Martin's professional assessment that Sutter was overworked, and Sutter's own denial reflects the limited sports science knowledge of that era. What we now understand as cumulative stress and tissue fatigue was then often dismissed as mental weakness or temporary mechanical issues. Back in Sutter's heyday, you needed to be at the ballpark to witness greatness, like his split-finger fastball in action. Today, you can stream every MLB game and see today's closers in action with Fubo. Live sports, anytime, anywhere. Check out the link below to support the channel and never miss the action. After helping the St. Louis Cardinals win the 1982 World Series, Sutter signed a massive 6-year, $10.6 million contract with the Atlanta Braves. But his time in Atlanta became a struggle against his own body. The shoulder problems that would end his career began in 1985. By the end of that season, he was dealing with nerve impingement in his right shoulder. He underwent shoulder surgery to repair an injured rotator cuff, identified as the third arm surgery of his career. In 1987, ongoing shoulder problems forced him to miss the entire season. He underwent another surgery in February 1987 to remove scar tissue and promote nerve healing. When he returned in 1988, he was clearly diminished, posting a career worst 1-4 record with only 14 saves across 38 appearances. The progression of injuries painted a clear picture of cumulative breakdown. From the initial elbow surgery in 1972 that led to his signature pitch, to the shoulder problems that began in 1985, Sutter's body was telling the story of years of high-stress pitching. By March 1989, Sutter publicly acknowledged there was a 99.9% chance he wouldn't be able to pitch again due to a severely torn rotator cuff. He officially retired after the 1988 season at age 35. The Braves eventually released him in November 1989, ending one of the most innovative careers in baseball history. For years, many blamed Sutter's injuries on his signature pitch. The split-finger fastball gained a reputation as dangerous, with some teams actively discouraging prospects from learning it. Anecdotal evidence and correlation without causation fueled this injury taboo. But modern research tells a different story. Contemporary biomechanical studies haven't found solid evidence that the split-finger fastball is more dangerous than other pitches. In fact, some research suggests fastballs can create higher stress on the elbow than off-speed pitches. Studies now indicate that factors like total arm stress, how that stress is distributed, and overall throwing velocity are more significant in injury causation than specific pitch types. Sutter's injuries were likely the result of cumulative wear from his exceptionally high workload over many years, not his signature pitch itself. The research shows that injury causation in elite sports is rarely due to a single factor. It's typically a complex interaction involving pitch characteristics, workload volume and intensity, individual physiological predispositions, overall pitching mechanics, and prior injury history. Despite his shortened career, Sutter's impact on baseball was profound. In 2006, he became the first pitcher inducted into the Hall of Fame without ever starting a game, cementing his legacy as a true innovator of the closer position. His influence extended beyond statistics. The split-finger fastball, once feared and avoided, has seen a resurgence in recent years, particularly influenced by successful Japanese pitchers who have long used it as a primary weapon. Sutter's career totals of 300 saves and a 2.83 ERA across 661 games tell only part of his story. He fundamentally changed how teams approached late-inning situations and helped establish the modern concept of the specialized closer. Sutter largely stayed out of the public eye after retirement. He made appearances at Cardinals events, including opening day festivities in April 2022. But by August of that year, a lingering illness prevented him from attending the 40th anniversary celebration of the 1982 championship team. On October 13, 2022, Bruce Sutter passed away at age 69. His family confirmed he had been recently diagnosed with cancer and was receiving hospice care in Georgia. While initial reports simply stated cancer, evidence suggests he died of lymphoma, a diagnosis completely unrelated to his baseball career or the arm injuries that ended it. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred acknowledged Sutter as a true pioneer in the game, changing the role of the late-inning reliever. His passing marked the end of an era, but his innovations live on in every closer who takes the mound today. The distinction between his career-ending orthopedic issues and his terminal illness decades later serves as an important reminder about athlete health trajectories. While his playing career certainly took a physical toll, his final illness was entirely separate from those challenges. Bruce Sutter's story is one of remarkable resilience and innovation. From a career-threatening injury that should have ended his dreams, he created a pitch that revolutionized baseball and earned him a place in Cooperstown. His journey reminds us that sometimes our greatest limitations can become our greatest strengths. The loss of his fastball led to the development of a pitch that was even more effective and helped define a new era in baseball. Sutter's legacy extends beyond his individual achievements. His career highlighted the need for better understanding of pitcher workloads and injury prevention, contributing to the evolution of modern sports medicine approaches that protect today's athletes. When Josh Hamilton was arrested in 2019 for allegedly assaulting his teenage daughter, it seemed like the final chapter in a story that had already seen too many dark turns. Here was a man who had once been the American League MVP, a five-time All-Star, and one of baseball's most inspiring comeback stories. How does someone fall so far from grace? But Hamilton's story isn't just about one man's struggles. It's a window into a much larger problem that affects athletes across all sports. Professional sports create a unique environment that can be particularly dangerous for those susceptible to addiction. The combination of intense pressure, physical pain, unlimited resources, and sudden fame creates what addiction specialists call a perfect storm. Athletes often start using substances to manage injuries, cope with performance anxiety, or deal with the isolation that comes with celebrity status. Hamilton's story begins with extraordinary promise. Drafted first overall by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 1999, he was considered a generational talent. In high school, he had earned USA Baseball's Amateur Player of the Year award and was widely seen as the future of the sport. His first professional season confirmed this potential when he batted .347 with 10 home runs in just 56 games, earning recognition as the Appalachian League's top prospect. But success in sports often comes with a price. Hamilton had reportedly never touched drugs or alcohol before his professional career began, making his rapid descent all the more shocking. The turning point came in 2001 when Hamilton's parents were involved in a car accident. While dealing with his own injuries from the crash, Hamilton was prescribed pain medication. This moment illustrates a critical vulnerability that many athletes face: the legitimate medical use of potentially addictive substances. For the first time in his life, Hamilton found himself unsupervised and, in his own words, flush with cash. At age 20, with a back injury preventing him from playing baseball, he began spending time at a tattoo shop. It was there that he had his first drink of alcohol and began experimenting with drugs. This progression from prescription medication to recreational substances is unfortunately common among athletes who develop addiction issues. Hamilton's addiction escalated rapidly. He began using crack cocaine and alcohol heavily, leading to multiple failed drug tests and eventually a complete ban from Major League Baseball from 2003 to 2005. During this period, he lost nearly $4 million to his addiction and even attempted suicide. In 2005, while still under suspension, he was arrested for destroying property while intoxicated. The most tragic aspect of Hamilton's early fall was how the punishment system actually made his addiction worse. Being completely cut off from baseball, the thing he loved most, removed his primary source of purpose and identity. Instead of providing the motivation to get clean, the ban pushed him deeper into addiction. Hamilton later described this period as living in a hellhole. Hamilton's story helps illustrate why addiction specialists now classify substance abuse as a chronic disease rather than a moral failing. While the initial decision to use drugs may be voluntary, the brain changes that occur with addiction make it extremely difficult to stop using substances through willpower alone. Hamilton himself has described still experiencing cravings in his dreams years into his recovery, calling it an itch you can't scratch. Professional sports leagues have gradually begun to recognize this reality. The old approach of simply punishing athletes for substance use has given way to more comprehensive treatment programs that focus on rehabilitation rather than punishment. However, as Hamilton's story shows, this evolution has been slow and inconsistent. What makes Hamilton's story truly remarkable is not his fall, but his rise. In October 2005, he experienced what he calls his last significant binge. With the support of his wife Katie, his grandmother, and his Christian faith, he began the long journey back to sobriety and professional baseball. The process wasn't easy. Hamilton entered multiple rehabilitation programs and had to prove his commitment to sobriety before MLB would even consider reinstating him. When he was finally allowed to return to the minor leagues in 2006, he was required to submit to drug tests up to 3 times per week, a condition that Hamilton actually welcomed as a constant reminder of his commitment to staying clean. His MLB debut came in 2007 with the Cincinnati Reds, but it was his trade to the Texas Rangers that truly launched his comeback story. In Texas, Hamilton found an organization and a fan base that embraced his journey. He was remarkably open about his struggles, often speaking publicly about addiction and serving as an inspiration to others facing similar battles. The peak of Hamilton's comeback came in 2010 when he was named the American League MVP. That season, he led the league with 130 RBIs and 331 total bases while helping the Rangers reach the World Series. He would help Texas reach the World Series again in 2011, cementing his status as one of the game's biggest stars. Even during his successful period, Hamilton's transparency about his ongoing struggles helped change how people viewed addiction. When he experienced alcohol relapses in 2009 and 2012, he immediately self-reported to his team and MLB officials. Because these involved legal alcohol, and he passed subsequent drug tests, he wasn't punished by the league. But more importantly, his honesty helped illustrate that recovery is an ongoing process, not a destination. Ironically, Hamilton's very success may have contributed to his later struggles. The intense public attention and the narrative of his completed comeback created new pressures that many people didn't recognize. This dynamic became particularly problematic when Hamilton signed a massive 5-year, $125 million contract with the Los Angeles Angels in 2012. The pressure of such a large contract, combined with being away from the support system he had built in Texas, created a challenging environment for someone in recovery. Hamilton's performance with the Angels was disappointing, and he battled numerous injuries that limited his playing time. While recovering from shoulder surgery in 2015, he admitted to a cocaine relapse that he voluntarily reported to MLB officials. This admission shocked many fans and media members who had seemingly forgotten about his ongoing battle with addiction. The reaction to Hamilton's 2015 relapse revealed how much work still needed to be done in terms of public understanding of addiction. Many viewed his relapse as a betrayal or a sign that he was getting away with substance abuse. MLB's decision not to suspend Hamilton for this relapse, instead treating it within the framework of their joint drug prevention and treatment program, represented a major shift toward rehabilitation over punishment. Hamilton's struggles didn't end when his baseball career concluded. In 2015, he filed for divorce from his wife, Katie. His career was ultimately cut short by knee injuries that required multiple surgeries. The transition from professional athletics to regular life presents unique challenges for all athletes, but particularly for those in recovery. Hamilton's 2019 arrest for allegedly assaulting his daughter represented a new type of struggle, one that went beyond substance abuse to issues of anger management and parenting. His eventual plea to a misdemeanor charge of unlawful restraint resulted in probation, community service, and mandatory attendance at parenting and anger management classes. The terms of Hamilton's probation included prohibitions on alcohol consumption and submission to random drug tests, conditions that he appears to have successfully met. Since his legal resolution in 2022, he has maintained a quiet personal life with occasional public appearances. Josh Hamilton's story offers several important lessons about addiction, recovery, and the unique pressures faced by professional athletes. First, it illustrates that addiction truly is a chronic disease that requires ongoing management rather than a one-time cure. Second, his story shows the importance of support systems in recovery. Third, Hamilton's openness about his struggles helped change public perception of addiction and inspired countless others facing similar battles. Today, Josh Hamilton is in his early 40s and appears to be maintaining his sobriety while staying out of the public eye. His story continues to serve as both a cautionary tale and an inspiration to others facing similar struggles. Hamilton's legacy extends far beyond his impressive baseball statistics. His greater contribution may be his role in helping society better understand addiction as a disease rather than a moral failing. His story reminds us that talent and success don't provide immunity from addiction, that recovery is possible but requires ongoing effort and support, and that society benefits when we approach these issues with empathy and understanding rather than judgment and punishment. For current and future athletes facing similar struggles, Hamilton's journey offers both hope and hard-won wisdom about the ongoing nature of recovery. Whitey Herzog dies at 92, but how he lived was sad until it became brilliant. They called him the White Rat, and what he built on the field changed baseball forever. Just 11 days before his death, Herzog attended opening day at Busch Stadium on April 4, 2024. The 92-year-old legend watched his beloved Cardinals play one final time. He died peacefully in St. Louis on April 15th, surrounded by his wife of 71 years and their large family. But here's what makes Herzog's story incredible. He was a terrible baseball player who became one of the greatest managers ever. Herzog played 8 seasons in the majors. His stats were awful. He hit 257 with just 25 home runs and 172 RBIs across his entire career. He bounced between the Senators, Athletics, Orioles, and Tigers. Nobody remembers him as a player. Herzog knew he wasn't good. He once said, "Baseball has been good to me since I quit trying to play it." That's brutal honesty, but it also shows he understood where his real talents lay. The Yankees signed him in 1949, but he couldn't crack their loaded roster. He spent years buried in their farm system. But something amazing happened during those minor league days. Casey Stengel took a liking to the young outfielder and taught him the game's deeper strategies. Stengel was a tactical genius who loved platooning players and finding creative advantages. He schooled Herzog in baseball's mental side. Those lessons planted the seeds for what would become Whitey Ball. When Herzog retired as a player in 1963, he immediately moved into coaching and scouting. The Mets hired him as director of player development in 1967. For 6 years, he built their farm system from scratch. Herzog developed the core of the Mets' 1969 World Series champions. Gary Gentry, Wayne Garrett, John Matlack, John Milner, Amos Otis, and Ken Singleton all came through his system. The Miracle Mets won because of players Herzog found and trained. His first managing job came with the Texas Rangers in 1972. The team had lost 100 games the year before. Herzog was hired to develop young talent, not win immediately. But after going 47-91, owner Bob Short fired him. Short's reason was brutal. "If my mother were managing the Rangers and I had the opportunity to hire Billy Martin, I'd fire my mother." That stung, but it taught Herzog something vital. He needed complete control to succeed. The Kansas City Royals hired Herzog in July 1975. The team was young and talented, but inconsistent. Herzog changed everything. He built the Royals around speed, defense, and smart hitting. George Brett became a superstar at third base. Amos Otis patrolled center field. Hal McRae provided veteran leadership. The pitching staff was deep and reliable. From 1976 to 1978, the Royals won 3 straight AL West titles. The 1977 team won 102 games, the best in franchise history. Herzog's winning percentage of .574 remains the highest in Royals history, but the Royals couldn't beat the Yankees in the playoffs. 3 straight years, New York eliminated Kansas City in heartbreaking fashion. Chris Chambliss hit a walk-off home run in 1976. The Royals collapsed in Game 5 in 1977. Another painful loss in 1978. Those defeats created tension with owner Ewing Kauffman. Herzog wanted to make trades and sign free agents. Kauffman preferred cheaper options and one-year contracts. After the 1977 season, Herzog demanded they trade popular first baseman John Mayberry. Why? Mayberry had dropped a foul ball in Game 4 of that year's ALCS. Herzog pulled him from the game and refused to play him in the decisive Game 5, despite teammates pleading for Mayberry's return. The slugger was reportedly groggy from a recent tooth extraction, but Herzog didn't care. Herzog believed Mayberry's mistake cost them the series. When management wouldn't trade him, their relationship soured. After another second-place finish in 1979, Kauffman fired Herzog despite his winning record. The St. Louis Cardinals rescued Herzog in June 1980. Team president August Busch Jr. gave him something he'd never had: total control. Herzog became both manager and general manager, the first person to hold both jobs since Connie Mack in 1950. At the 1980 winter meetings, Herzog made 3 massive trades involving 21 players. He completely rebuilt the Cardinals roster in one weekend. His vision was clear: build a team perfectly suited for Busch Stadium's artificial turf. Whitey Ball was born. The press coined the term during the 1982 World Series to describe Herzog's unique style. Instead of power hitters, he collected speed merchants, switch hitters, and contact specialists. Ozzie Smith anchored the infield with spectacular defense. Willie McGee patrolled center field. Tom Herr turned double plays. Terry Pendleton manned third base. Jose Oquendo played everywhere. All were switch hitters who could adapt to any situation. Vince Coleman epitomized the speed element. He stole over 100 bases in each of his first 3 seasons. The Cardinals pressured opponents constantly, forcing mistakes and manufacturing runs. Herzog explained his philosophy simply: we may not outslug you, but we'll outrun you, outthink you, and outplay you. This wasn't just different from the era's power-hitting trend. It was revolutionary. The Cardinals won the 1982 World Series, their first championship in 15 years. They reached the World Series again in 1985 and 1987, capturing 3 National League pennants in 6 years. Fans loved Whitey Ball. The Cardinals drew over 2.4 million fans annually during Herzog's tenure. In 1987 and 1989, they topped 3 million for the first time in franchise history. The exciting style made every game feel electric. Herzog won National League Manager of the Year in 1985. A 1983 New York Times poll voted him baseball's best manager. His peers respected his tactical brilliance and ability to maximize player strengths, but Herzog still demanded complete authority. When shortstop Gary Templeton stopped hustling in 1981, Herzog confronted him in the dugout. After Templeton made obscene gestures to booing fans, Herzog fined him $5,000 and suspended him for 3 weeks. The relationship was broken. Herzog traded Templeton to San Diego for Ozzie Smith after the season. That trade transformed both franchises and proved Herzog's judgment. Smith became a Hall of Famer in the heart of 3 Cardinals pennant winners. Herzog's relationship with August Busch Jr. enabled his success. Busch trusted Herzog completely and gave him the resources to build winners. When Busch died in 1989, everything changed. By July 1990, the Cardinals were 33-47 and in last place. Herzog resigned, his magic finally fading without his greatest supporter. His Cardinals record was 8-22, 7-8, third best in franchise history. Later attempts at front office work failed. Herzog feuded with California Angels owner Jackie Autry over budgets and power struggles with team executives. He worked mostly from his St. Louis home instead of the Angels' offices. The team struggled, and Herzog resigned in January 1994. The pattern was clear. Herzog needed complete control to succeed. When organizations limited his authority, his genius couldn't flourish. The Baseball Hall of Fame inducted Herzog in 2010. He called it going to heaven before you die. The Cardinals retired his number 24, an honor usually reserved for legendary players. He joined their Hall of Fame in 2014. Herzog's influence extended far beyond his active years. Kansas City's Ned Yost used similar principles to win the 2015 World Series with Royal Ball, proving Herzog's strategies remained effective decades later. Former players universally praised Herzog. Ozzie Smith called him a master manipulator who was always a step ahead. George Brett said he was more than a manager. He was a teacher. Even Keith Hernandez, whom Herzog traded, called him the best manager I ever played for. Joe Torre captured Herzog's impact perfectly. Whitey played a different game than the rest of us. He played a game that put constant pressure on you, and he always seemed 2 steps ahead. When Herzog died, fans remembered Whitey Ball as the most exciting baseball ever. They praised his mastermind approach and called him the smartest baseball man I have ever seen. His emphasis on speed and defense created lasting memories for an entire generation. Herzog proved there were multiple paths to victory in baseball. While others chased home run hitters, he built winners with speed, defense, and intelligence. His success challenged conventional wisdom and enriched the game's strategic possibilities. The sad part wasn't how Herzog lived. It was watching a brilliant mind struggle when he lacked the authority to implement his vision. But when given complete control, he created magic that still influences baseball today. Whitey Herzog transformed from failed player to Hall of Fame manager by embracing his limitations and maximizing his strengths. His brain beat raw talent, his teams thrilled millions, and his blueprint for winning remains timeless.